Max, what advice would you give to someone who struggles with the feelings of unworthiness or insecurity and who may be tempted then to overcompensate by putting on a facade of confidence or success? How can they learn to be more honest and vulnerable with themselves and others? I think about what you were talking about regarding not becoming an island unto ourselves, but I'll let you take it.
That's a terrific question. I don't know how to answer except with a question that may sound oversimplified. But in the end, we just have to trust that if God says we're lovable, then we're lovable. And if God says we're forgiven, then we're forgiven. And if God calls us Israel, then no longer are we Jacob. We're Israel. We have a new name. And in the end, Chris, I think that's just all we can do. You know, I have a friend who told me of a battle that he has had with a particular addiction. And he said that he was so ashamed because he had fallen into that temptation yet again. And he said, God, can you forgive me again? And he heard a voice. Now, it wasn't an audible voice, but it was deeply an impression in his spirit. And he heard God say, I forgave you the first time. I'll forgive you every time.
Mm-hmm.
And my friend had to choose. Either he was going to believe his own self-loathing or self-hatred or shame, or he could believe that God's grace was great. And he chose to trust the grace of God. Mm-hmm. In the end, I guess that's what it comes down to, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
It's just trusting that God's grace is great.
So how do we rebuild that? How do we hurdle the cognitive dissonance that we often face in life? And I'll just go right to the title of your book, God Never Gives Up on You. But when it looks like, because of our lived experiences, that he has, what do we do? Because Scripture's clear. He cannot lie. He said he will never leave us or forsake us. In fact, I love in the Greek, Hebrews 13:5, it's like a quintuple negative. I will not, I will not, never, never, never not. It's so emphatic about that point. But Max, we all face circumstances that challenge the validity of that truth, which then leads us back to, do we believe a lie?
Yeah.
What do we do in the middle? If God says, I will never give up on you, and we're saying, yeah, but life says you have.
Mm-hmm. Life says you have. The reason that we have trouble believing that God will never give up on us is because other people have given up on us. And we've given up on us ourselves. And so we tend to filter our understanding of God through the behavior of people. And if my own dad didn't believe in me, my own coach, or if I received unfair criticism from my spouse, or people made a covenant or a promise to me and they didn't keep it, then I tend to say, okay, if they didn't, then God won't. Which just the opposite should be the case, because people treat us with human perceptive and wisdom. Their limited understanding. God sees us he sees history from the beginning to the end. He can see the end of history, of human history on earth, as clearly as he can see the very beginning. So he's not bound by a timeline. And so he says, okay, I get it. I know what you're going through. I see where you're headed. Okay, I'm going to love you because I see it all. And to filter, or to use, what's a good way to say this, to use the mathematics or the trigonometry or the formula or the calculation of human experience and impose that on God, it's just not right. It's just not right. So in the end, faith says, okay, everything says I shouldn't believe in me, but I'm going to say you believe in me simply because, well, for me it always goes back to the empty tomb, right? Because the tomb is empty, my hope is not. So I'm going to trust in that empty tomb. If Jesus rose from the dead, then truly all authority in heaven and on earth has been given to him, and his authority says you're lovable, you're worth dying for, and I'm going to trust in that.